everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Conversations with MM. This is Marivir Monteban here in my bedroom. I have moved my camera, shifted it so you will have a different view. How's everyone? Hope you're doing well this summer. It's a wonderful Saturday, and I hope you are enjoying the sun and trying to hydrate as well because it's still so hot. The heat wave is still on, it's still upon us. And talking of heat, hot issues, we are going to discuss something very important and hot for PhilAms, for Filipinos in New York. It's about our security and it's about our safety. So we have a special guest, a very good friend of mine. He is a Franciscan friar. He is also the convener of the PhilAm Network against Asian hate. No other than the good friend and a very wonderful person, Father Julian Jagudilla. Hi, Father. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Mariver, and good evening to our viewers this
Good
evening.
evening. Thank you for joining me tonight for this wonderful. It's a wonderful time despite the crisis, and for you giving us time for this conversation, Padre. So, how have you been? Everything okay on your end?
Everything is fine. Good, good, busy. As you heard on the news, I'm sure it has been in the news lately that
Mm,
there has been 7,300 immigrants and asylum seekers who were bused into New York City
right.
from Texas. So the Migrant Center and other allied organizations, we are trying to respond to this situation. The city is on top of the situation, trying to manage it and make it really possible for this newly arrived to find life, here in New York City.
That's amazing, Jay. Does that mean like you are busy with the documentation requirements?
Uh,
Accommodation?
other than the cases that we have now, we're gearing to be
Mhm.
part of what the city government, through its commission on immigrants affairs, are going to do. That is, they're going to help these newly arrived immigrants and asylum seekers navigate the social services of the city. So we will be part of that. We're not there yet. We're trying to organize ourselves so that we can respond effectively and holistically to the situation.
Oh, I admire you for doing that. Thank you for doing that, Padre. Now we will shift to the topic on Asian hate. This is something that is disturbing because it's random and it's like escalating during the pandemic. So tell us about the group, FANAAH, and what has it been doing lately?
With FANA, or the Filipino Americans Network Against Asian Hate. By the way, we are also, you can find us on Facebook. Please like us or follow us. What we have been doing with our network, we're doing more education, self defense trainings, more networking, inviting Filipinos and Filipino Americans and our allies, non Filipinos, to be part of the network. The mission of FANA, or the Filipino Americans Network Against Asian Hate, is
Mm,
number one, to protect our community. And
right.
what best way to protect our community is to educate them, equip them or arm them with skills to protect themselves, but also to educate them to understand the discrimination laws in the city and state, and also to network. It's very important for them to realize that there are Filipinos out there who are concerned about safety, and
Right.
being together and connected and well informed together, we can protect and empower our community.
Now, Father, lately you have um, spoken with the governor of New York, Governor Hochul, here in Queens lately. So, as far as the protection and the legal aspect, the legislation aspect, of Filipinos being targeted or Asians being targeted? What has been the response of the government?
Let me be clear here. That was an initial conversation with Governor Hochul
Yeah.
that was organized by Steve Braga, who's running for a state seat uh,
Mhm.
for New York State. So
Right.
it's an initial conversation, and I brought up the unequal. We perceive an equal implementation of anti-discrimination laws. That when an attack had happened to when a Filipino or Filipina is a victim of an attack, somehow these laws doesn't serve us. So I said, if there's a possibility to review the law and maybe shed more light into how this is beneficial and how can protect us. And so what she said and she promised she will take a note of it, and she directed my attention to their anti hate crime task force. So we don't know what's going to be coming from her side, but we are determined to follow up with her,
Mm-hmm.
with the state and the city of New York, to really seriously look into our situation. Because lately,
Yeah.
not
And
about
go ahead, Father.
3 days ago,
Mm.
another Filipina was randomly, unprovoked, attacked here in Manhattan.
I have a picture of that.
Yep,
This is what this is the suspect, right, Father?
that's the suspect. Yep, yep.
So I would like to ask how you view this. Like we have seen the escalation happening during the pandemic, and what is your insight into this? What is causing this? Is it really called hate, or is it what they always claim as like a mental health issue of the attackers?
It's a confluence of things, issues. Uh, of course, there is mental health,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, there is a bias against Asians, which I would prefer to look or examine in its historical perspective.
Okay.
Because Asians came to this country, and of course, they were cheap labor, but that didn't mean that they were free from discrimination.
Right.
Asians, particularly us Filipinos, were victims of racism in this country. So we cannot just look at what's happening right now, today. We have to look back and say, what was going on at that time? You know, we
So
were
it,
not, we
it's a
were not
it's a
really,
mindset.
it's a mindset, yeah. And
Uh-huh.
I think another issue another matter that really made this situation worse is the perceived, the perception of Asians, that we are docile, that we're not going to raise our voice, we're not going to speak out.
Just work hard and
Yeah,
not.
just work hard, keep your head down, don't say anything. That's, I think, might work,
Uh-huh.
and possibly would work with the older generations of Filipinos in this country. But I don't think with the young Filipinos now, who were raised in this country or born in this country. I think they are very, very aware that, there's a need to empower our community.
So what you're saying right now is there is a much needed thing to educate the Filipinos themselves. So number one, first and foremost, learn how to protect themselves physically and be mindful of the environment. But in terms of consciousness, Father, I'd like to zero in on that. What should Filipinos um, think or regard of themselves when issues like this happen? Do we keep quiet? Do we? And there's a factor of shame. There's a factor of
Okay, let's just take example, victims of attacks, right? Okay,
Mhm.
number one reason why is it that we don't follow up, or we don't press charges, or we don't come out
Yes,
to speak out, is because number one, they're afraid.
right.
They're afraid that their assailants, or friends or relatives of those who harmed them, will get back at them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. They're afraid. Number two is the element of shame. you know they don't want to be known that they were attacked. And in one of my conversations with the victim, said, well, father, I don't want to come out in the open especially in a media interview, and will be posted, aired, online in channels of the film. I don't want my family back home, my family is back home to learn that I was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ashamed, right? Third element is that some of them are afraid to come out because of their immigration status. And we encourage and assure them that if they report a crime, especially perpetrated against them,
Mm-hmm.
that their immigration status will be protected.
Yeah, that's a lot of factors that are
Mhm.
straining
Mhm.
the the need to have to
Yeah,
claim for
and,
those.
and number four is,
Yes.
you know, people don't want to bother. I mean, our lives, as you know, our life here in the USA is very busy, very hectic.
Yeah.
Especially when our brothers and sisters came here to earn, to support their family in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So who has the time to pause and say, I wanna appear in court, sue this guy, follow through this? Who has the time?
Right,
You
right.
know?
That is on the end of the Filipinos,
Yeah,
Father. They don't want to be like dramatic. They even feel like thankful that they were safe. They did not die. That mind. But Father, how do you look at U.S. society, American society, that now that this has happened, there's really a lot of escalation also of violence
well,
in the U.S. There's massacres coming from schools. There
yeah.
are people randomly attacked for no reason. What is going on with society, American society, that is?
Well, it's very hard to pin it down, but the
Mm-hmm,
the, the fact is, uh, we question our safety,
mm-hmm,
we question our future. I mean, there's a lot of things in here. You know, uh, there's the the never-ending fight between the parties. You know,
yes,
you know,
politics.
the finger pointing and the blaming. You know, and the grandstanding. So somehow we saying, well, you're supposed to be working for our good. I mean, if you ask an average New Yorker these days if they're safe in New York City, I'm sure they'll say they don't feel safe because of this, you know, continuous attacks. And
It's
we
the
see, yeah, we see that in the news, gun violence, hate, against hate crime against people of different cultures.
right. Father, there is something I'd like to ask, like the most recent one, which you just mentioned on the Filipina being attacked by this suspect. Um, I'll be very frank about this question because most of the attackers are also people of color, those claiming mental illness as a reason for doing that. I would correct me if I'm wrong, but it is also like a cultural thing that two oppressed races are being pitted against each other, or it's really like a resistance, a resentment on the other race that's being downgraded as well. So it's a lose-lose situation for these two races, Asians and I would say like mostly the blacks who are perpetrating the crimes.
Yeah, but I will be very cautious in zeroing only on the African Americans,
Mhm,
because there are also others, whites, Latinos, who are attacking Asians.
mhm.
But I would rather not anchor it on the question of race.
Okay.
Okay, that is, let's look at it across the board and say it can be a person of any racial background who hates others. On top of that is a question of mental illness. On top of that is the orchestration that the coronavirus was brought into this country by Asians. And of course, what's playing in also in the confusion is that the American society, again, out of
Mhm.
ignorance, think that the American society thinks that uh, every Asian is Chinese.
Yes.
So,
That's
you know,
another
we, We need
factor
to
for
educate
education.
them that it is, the Asian community is as varied as any other communities. It's like saying that all Latinos are Mexicans. You know,
Mhm.
that's very inaccurate. But we have to say that Asian community is very vast and very varied, and we are not all Chinese. So we have to educate our American brothers and sisters. But going back to African Americans and any people of color, that we should create an alliance, a
Okay.
space wherein we can work together, to
Mhm.
protect our communities, to serve our communities. Because at the end of the day, we have to realize that we are all people of color and we all experience racial violence.
The more right now this thing has happened, the more the need for cultural understanding, bridging, creating bridges, correct, Father?
Hmm.
That history could be looked at, and there's we just have to counter this hateful events, activities with love and understanding. Do you agree?
Love and understanding, but it has to be in a context of a challenge. If
Challenge.
you believe that, from the Catholic Christian perspective, if
Yes.
we believe that we are all children of God, and
Mhm.
we each one possesses that dignity as children of God, we have
Mhm.
to challenge them and say, put that into action.
Right.
We love and care for our brothers and sisters, but the love and care for our brothers and sisters has to find concrete expressions, like
Yes.
protecting one another, like advocating for one another. Like, can you imagine? I have seen this in a few rallies.
Hmm.
Asian Americans speaking out for our African American brothers and sisters. Asian Americans speaking out for our Latino brothers and sisters.
That's really heartwarming, Dre.
In the same way, they also can advocate for us, can speak for us. So there you would say we are one big human family, where
Right.
where everyone's dignity is recognized and protected.
Now, I have a question. How do you look at the city government in terms of making the city really protected? Has it been responsive to your requests, or are we're still like ordinarily you would walk in Times Square, there are a lot of homeless people, and they like they act weirdly in public, and that makes for like people getting scared and
Yep.
scared of for their lives. And so what is the city's
I
reaction to this?
I would say, if I am not mistaken,
Yeah.
uh, Mayor Adams has not completed his first year yet. Okay,
Yes.
I'm not sure because I think he was inaugurated sometime in February. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can check this out. You can edit this part. That is, I think he's still trying to navigate the situation in New York City, trying to respond to it and find solutions. So this is they would say the biggest city in the U.S. Uh, or in the world, if we may claim that.
Mm-hmm.
But and it has a lot of complex issues. So the mayor is cautiously, approaching the situation, trying to find solutions along the way.
But
Uh,
what is
and I'm
really
sure
visible? Yeah.
and I'm
But
sure he's looking at different sectors, different groups and ethnic minorities to step forward and help out in finding solutions to the issues that we're facing here in the city, including Asian hate. So maybe sometime, this at the end of this year or next year, we can say to him like, okay, you've been in the office for some time now. You have to find a concrete solution to these issues, such as homelessness, gun violence, you know, gang violence and crimes. You know,
right. So, Father, right now I could visibly notice that policemen and women are being stationed at the subways. So I think that's a concrete action from the city that I can we can visibly see. And so, did you think that that helped, or did the spate of crimes still increase despite police visibility?
I'd say it helps, but police presence is not the only solution.
Yes,
We
it's
have to we have to explore other ways to respond to the situation. For our safety and the safety of all, we have to find ways. That is, as I've said, empower New Yorkers
mhm.
to step up rather and help out.
Education is really key, Father. So, but on the legal side, I'm showing here photos of you with some lawyers in New York, Asian lawyers, and do you do you think Asian hate crimes prosper legally, or it's very remote?
Say it again, please.
Do you think Asian hate crimes or hate crimes, do they prosper in the U.S. or New York, or is it remote? Does it require a lot of boldness on the part of the victims?
I think it requires a lot of courage from victims to
Mm-hmm,
come out. But I think what I have been asking our Asian Americans, American lawyers rather, is
mm-hmm,
that to help us understand these laws, and if
okay,
we have to navigate, or rather, if we have to advocate for changes on the laws,
mm-hmm,
we have to do that, but they have to provide us with the legal understanding of what these laws are.
I see. So is FANAAH already setting up some forums on
Yes.
legal
I'm
action?
hoping to organize one next month, September, but I think it's too soon. But we're trying to get the Asian American lawyers in a forum to help explain, what are these hate crime laws and
I see.
how it can serve us. Also, I'm reaching out to the NYPD and the FBI of the state of New York City and the
Mhm,
city government, to be on board and help us really understand, if their presence and their ability to enlighten us and
mhm.
assure us, of our safety and their availability to support us is a great help for our community, for our people, just to know that there are people that they can turn to for help.
Right, right. So, Father, may I ask you about the Catholic Church being active on social issues? And I know historically you have always been a very socially responsible priest and person. So, what philosophy is behind this when the Catholic Church or church people position themselves on issues like racism, equality, social justice?
that's where the catholic social that's where
Jesus,
the Catholic social teachings of the church would come in.
right.
It is in the framework, they call it a doctrine concerning matters of human dignity and common good in our society. Okay, so that's the teaching, that's the framework, the Catholic social teachings of the Catholic Church, you know
Mhm.
is about matters of human dignity and the common good in our society.
I really feel that's relevant, and because you see, if the Catholic Church or any church which is quiet on issues on justice, it becomes kind of hypocritical as an institution and irrelevant, I should say, if they don't voice out concerns like this, right, Father?
Yeah, but we also have to understand that the Catholic Church, just any human organization,
Yeah.
has its positive and negative sides. Sometimes we have to be forceful in our advocacy in the Catholic Church and say,
Mhm.
put your money where your mouth is, right?
Uh-huh.
Don't just you know make all these proclamations about human rights, about dignity of the human being, if you don't have anything, any actions, any moves
Mhm.
that follow them. So what are these? The Catholic Church identified seven themes, of the Catholic social teachings, and these are, life and dignity of the human person. you know
Mhm.
Number two is the call to family, community, and participation. Number three, rights and responsibilities. Four, preferential option for the poor. Okay, number five is the dignity of work and rights of workers,
Mhm.
solidarity, and seventh, care for God's creation. So if you unpack all these things, these are really great teachings of the church, you
Right.
know, and uh, 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 doctrinally, you
Mhm.
know, they're sound, they're great, but doctrines has to be lived. We cannot just continue to teach people the wonderful Catholic social teachings when there's nothing that comes with it. For example, I just give you a big example. An example here is, preferential option for the poor. Why? Why? Why do we give importance to that? Because, as Jesus said, whatever you do to the least sister or brother of mine, you do it to me.
Mhm.
You know. So, and also on top of that, why do we do that? Because we believe that each and every person was gifted with this dignity because we are created in the image and likeness of God. So any violence, from big and small crimes to big crimes, torture, human trafficking, you name it,
Mhm.
is in violation of this belief, you know, and violation of God's will that we lived out you know, to our potentials as His creatures.
How I wish all priests think and behave like you, Father. Like really putting your days and hours into social issues. Because, but I don't know, in the Philippines, the church has a voice. It's kind of an influencer. But in the US, do you have problems with that in terms of swaying some influence?
Of course, before during the election, that there's what they call as the Catholic vote, which is not really, it's non-existent. Now, I would say, as much as there's a that the Catholic Church in the Philippines has a voice, here in the U.S. also the Catholic Church has a voice, especially on the issue of abortion. You
Oh,
know,
okay. Yes,
it's
yes.
another that's an issue that's, I'm sure you can devote an entire episode
Episode for
of
that because that's really
your OSM program,
magazine. Yes.
conversations with,
That's very, very,
because that's a
that's
really
very
really difficult issue.
touchy. Yes,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
especially women.
yeah. So yeah, the Catholic Church is bigger than that, but I'm just hoping that uh, we Catholics
Mm,
not only welcome what the church teaches, but also has to be in the context of a dialogue. You know, what does it mean? What does it mean for us, uh, uh, Catholic men and women, and especially on that issue for
mhm.
Catholic women?
Right, right. So I'm glad. Like I think it's high time for the Catholic Church or any churches for that matter to be relevant and open its eyes and ears to issues that are being felt right now in the community. It's really a lot to tackle.
Well, it's very important that the faithful or the people would
Mm-hmm.
feel that their pastors and their priests and their bishops, are
Mm-hmm.
there supporting them.
Right. Now, going into your, I would like to ask something personal, Father. If I
Sure.
could, if you could compare how you were living as a priest in the Philippines, or were you a priest in the Philippines?
No, I was a member of a religious community, an emerging religious community. So at that time, my involvement in the work of the church was very minimal. Although
So I cannot ask a comparison then.
not so, but I joined the priesthood here in the U.S.
Wow, that's an amazing journey. Why did you decide to become a priest in the U.S.?
Uh, at the
It's
beginning, I was not really. I was resistant,
mm,
resistant to the fact that I want to be a priest. But you know, if you, for me, I was searching for meaning in life,
yeah.
and a meaning in life for me, I found it in serving others and being available to others, in advocating for others. And I think, as a Franciscan friar, that's my calling. To
Mhm.
be, they poetically put it, to walk with people, the people of God, and
Oh,
walking with the people of God will mean different ways.
wow. Thank you for that, Father, for sharing that you have gone through a crisis and decided that you need to serve through the church. That's an amazing journey. So, any parting shots on FANAAH? What's about to happen? What
Uh,
are the
First of all, I ask the audience to please join us
mm,
on Facebook. So far, we only have a Facebook account. That's how we connect with people, and that's how we promote consciousness and support for our people. We'll have future events. I promise you that we will continue to campaign for the protection and education of our community
mm.
and people of color in general.
Thank you so much, Father, for your time.
Yep.
And see you around. Let's have coffee one of these
Soon.
days. Soon. The sooner the better, right?
Yep.
So I'd like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight. And so see you again in another conversations that is so relevant and important to us Filipinos. So see you around, Father. Thank you. Take care, and God bless everybody.
Thank you and God bless everyone. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
We look
Father.
Thank you.